Alright, now that my face is out there, I can't really crash out like I did in my previous videos, so we are gonna have to be a little bit more civilized in this one. Also, if I am a little quiet, this is the only time I have to film this, because I am gonna be leaving in a couple days, and I'll be gone for a week, but I want to get this video out as quick as possible. But with that being said, now that the tournament's over, Hands of Unity is officially the #2 guild in EU. You know, congrats to Sin for clapping our dicks. Now I can also confidently say that we only lost because I was benched. You know, whether that's factually accurate,
I guess we'll never know.
but if the tournament has shown us anything, it is that small scale GVG-esque PvP in this game is where it truly shines, right? To anyone that is, you know, somewhat moderately competent at PvP, you know, we've seen it from the different skill levels that were present in the guilds that partook in the tournament, you know, like the small scale, roughly around 48 versus 48 is where the game truly shines, right? Both for, you know, as a viewing experience, but also for the people playing it, right? There's a lot more agency, there's a lot more engagement on the individual player's side to be making these plays, right? To, you know, see themselves have an impact in these fights, the smaller the scale is, right? Like skill expression and, you know, that outplay potential in Throne and Liberty just completely goes out the window the more players get involved, right? Lately, like I mentioned in my previous video, we pretty much farmed Sword Dome at nighttime on our server. I even spoke about it while I was co-casting the tournament. And lately, well, before they transferred off the server, a couple guilds actually showed up on Sorodoma Island and were contesting us in for the chests, right? I think at most on the high end, it was like 18 Hands of Unity members and roughly the same number from each of the guilds, right? Sometimes there'd be multiple guilds showing up, like 2 to 3. I think it was Conflux, Greed, Zero Drop, a couple Just Play guilds would show up and fight us at Sorodoma Island. And in all honesty, like the nighttime Sorodoma PvP was probably like some of the best PvP experiences I've had outside of the glory days of Alea. And with AGS basically admitting that small scale PvP content is going to be the way to go, hence why they've made world bosses and arc bosses basically into GVGs now, I can 1000% with pure confidence say that this game would thrive and be a whole lot better if they redesigned the wargame maps. Because right now, even though you can limit the amount of players in these wargames, it still lacks that depth to kind of make it more interesting and engaging for both the people playing and the people watching. So that's where the wargame redesign comes in. We're going to steal a couple of ideas from World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, and BDO, whether we like that game or not. Also, I keep hearing this popping this popping noise. So I'm gonna use this mic. Well, I mean, more so the filter on it, just to see if it stops it. It could seriously do nothing. I've got another one, but then I don't know how much this will affect the volume of my mic. Wait, it actually fucking works. Hold on. Okay, this is the play. Guys, I'll have an actual fucking setup soon, okay? I promise. This is like the most ghetto content creator setup I've had. I mean, I have like equipment and shit, I just haven't set up to be, you know, for making gaming content. I kind of just use my headset because I'm fucking lazy. Anyway, right, like I said, we're going to be stealing ideas from WoW, so we're going to look at Arathi Basin. If you guys don't know what that is, it's one of the OG maps for World of Warcraft battlegrounds, right? It basically has 2 spawns, one for Horde, one for Alliance, and 5 capturable zones throughout the map, right? And it's pretty symmetrical in that sense to kind of make it even for both teams, right? And what we're going to look at right now is my redesign of the Adentus and Ruins of Terrain maps. Alright, well, now we're back with our trusty paint drawings. Not to ramble on too quick about this, I did like fucking film like a 10-minute yap session on this, but in World of Warcraft Arathi Basin, right, you start the game at your spawn points, right, which is going to be, let's say, spawn point A and spawn point B, depending on your faction. Now, what happens is in World of Warcraft, each team goes to their first capture point. This was stables, this was farm, right? That's what they were called in Arathi Basin. And then once they capture this, this would become their new spawn point, right? And then obviously if they capture another one, let's say they go over here, this becomes their new spawn point if they die near to it, right? Obviously if they die close to this point, that's where they'll spawn, right? Surely the devs can, you know, code it so that happens in this game too, right? So that's how it works. in this redraft or redesign, we do remove the already existing Adentus Riftstone. Partly because I couldn't think of anywhere else to put these other zones, and having the Adentus one kind of gives Team B an advantage because it's going to be very close to their initial spawn point, right? And I feel like, you know, having equal time between each point is important so that one team doesn't have that, you know, designed advantage over the other, right? Let's say like this takes 10 seconds to get to that point, 10 seconds there, 15, like that's, this should be 10-2, this should be 10-2. Again, I already fucked up. See, like this is where, you know, the thing has to come in. Obviously, people aren't going to be running in a straight line for the most part. Let's say people fucking beeline it here and it only takes 15 seconds. Again, I'm not a designer, so they could do whatever they want. But all I want is for them to introduce more points in these maps, because one, that's going to introduce macro gameplay, right? Guilds will actually need to be smart on, you know, where they allocate numbers, right? And they'll have to design team comps that, you know, are either designed to bunker down and hold a specific point, let's say this point, and then you have another rat group that runs around decapping points, or like, you know, sending backup. Let's say, you know, you guys are struggling over here, you send a bunch of dagger users over there, kaboom, you know what I mean? So I designed this with like a 30 versus 30 game mode in mind, right? So let's say pre-made, right? Let's say I had like the guild rank queue, right? And then regular party pre-made queue for ranked, and then you have your normal queue rank for all the plebs that don't have friends or have guilds to play with, right? So in the 30 versus 30 guild pre-made queue, right, you get 30 of your guild members, you queue for this shit, right? And then now in this 30 versus 30, the guild has to create actual team compositions, right? So let's say, I mean, they don't have to, but, you know, this is how I'm envisioning that it will play out. So, you know, maybe guilds will have like what, 2 6-man, so 12 people, 2 6-mans, right? That are strictly designed to hold a point. That's all they fucking do. And then the rest are like, let's say, rat groups that, you know, are designed to be mobile and, you know, support all these other points, right, that need help, you know? And then that's where the macro gameplay becomes involved. Now, like in the not guild queue, just regular rank queue, you can only queue as a 6-man pre-made, right? Because in rank, the biggest issue is griefers, right? I feel bad too, kind of like, you know, queuing as a 1 dagger in my fucking rank games. I feel like I'm griefing people, but then I do more damage than actual DPS classes, and it's just the most depressing experience ever. But in a game mode like this, if you get 5 other people, whether it's your guildmates, your friends, or even randoms, to queue with you in a rank game, it's almost guaranteed that everyone is gonna try hard, right? Because you're not only wasting your own time and your elo, you're also wasting the other 5 people in your party, right? So I would assume that those 6 people are gonna fucking try hard to win this game, right? And then in the normal queues is where you can queue purely solo, or anything from, let's say, like, you know, you could do a queue, you could queue as a 4, 3, 6, you know, maybe not 5 is an odd number, you know, maybe you can queue 2, 3, and 2, 3, 4, and 6, similar to how it is in dungeons right now, right, where you can only queue as a 4 to get the random one. So yeah, you can do that in the normal queues, right? But ranked, it is strictly 6-man pre-mades and the 30 versus 30 guild version. That way also, you know, if the guild caps are at 70, you know, you can have 2 guild groups if you guys have like 60 people on, you know, to fucking grind out these rank games, right? Is that balanced? Probably not, but it's something to introduce into this game to, you know, make PvP a lot more enticing, especially, you know, for the people that actually enjoy it. Because right now, all we have is a ton of PvE content and time-gated PvP. Now, in my little script here, you know, I talked about having gear brackets, similar to if you ever played BDO. They had tiers in their node wars that had different gear requirements, right? I feel like you could do the same here, so that you let the newer players have actual PvP content to do to begin with, right? So they don't need to get like what 5k gear score in tier 2 just to, you know, feel like they're doing something in PvP. So you could have like, for the early brackets, right, where it's not much gear, you could introduce no arc boss weapons, because I feel like, you know, having a, let's say, a Tevant wand and then you just wear a bunch of shit gear with no trades. I feel like that would be kind of disgusting in these like lower gear brackets, no? But again, this is mainly for, you know, to let the casual players have a bracket where they feel like they can compete in and not just get stomped by people that have spent thousands of hours in this game already, or, you know, thousands of V-Bucks, right? So I had the brackets at 1400 to 2.1k, 2.1k to 3k, 3k to 3.8, and then where everything gets unlocked is at 3.8 to 4.4, and then 4.4 plus, because I feel like, you know, once you hit 4.4 plus, you're pretty much no lifing the game right now. I mean, even casual players can hit this. So, but yeah, I also said that you can equip lower gear, you know, and just tweak some stuff. You know, you could play around, and I feel like that could introduce different metas, you know, like in BDO, some classes excel at tier 3 or uncapped node wars, and then some classes are really good at tier 1, right? You could introduce the same thing here. All right, so why would these battlegrounds be a good thing for the game? Well, first of all, and probably the key important thing, especially with the gear brackets, is that it's going to be casual friendly, right? You can play in queue whenever you want, and PvP doesn't have to feel like a second job, because right now with the hardcore PvP guilds, it's like show up at 6 p.m. for old bosses, do it again at 8 p.m., do it again at 10 p.m. And then in between, you know, you were like, yeah, we have scheduled war games with so-and-so guild, scheduled war games here after these world bosses. Oh, nighttime, let's go, you know? Like, it becomes a pick up and go type of game, especially with the gear brackets, right? Like, you can play out whatever gear you have, go from there, right? Second, you don't need 70 people to play all the time. Trying to get like 48 or 50 or however many people you need to make that one war game work can be fucking annoying, right? If you cap it to 30 for the guild queues, right? Make that an event with your guild, do whatever. Or if you make like the 6-man pre-made rank queues or just solo queue, whatever, in the normal games, like I said, it's gonna be a lot more accessible, right? It's gonna be easier to get those numbers active, or those numbers going on, you know, like let's say on average there's like 40 people in your guild on at prime time, right? And then you guys want a Q6-man rank. It's gonna be a lot easier to get those people in, right? And then everyone can have fun. And third, like previously mentioned, it is going to create that more engaging PvP experience, because, you know, they're going to have to start thinking about macro gameplay. You know, when are we going to rotate? What are we going to rotate for, right? What is our party comp going to do? But also, you know, like with the randomness of rank, right? You're not going to get that perfect, you know, 30-man composition with randoms, right? That's what makes it fun, right? Let's say I made a party consisting of, you know, our job is to roam, right? Like, we go to one spot, kill everyone, let our team capture, go, right? And then what if the rest of the parties, right, the 4 other groups that we get matched with are just like that, you know? So we have no bunkers, so we have to develop that type of strategy. Like, okay, we have to keep roaming, right, and keep decapping and capping points, you know, to get the win, right? You know, like that kind of gameplay is going to be introduced with this type of war game maps, right? Now with number 4, it kind of plays in with number 3 as well, but especially with the gear brackets, if they do introduce it. I mean, like, again, this is all just hypothetical. Just came out my ass. There's going to be a bunch of different metas forming at these different gear brackets, right? Let's say, you know, like, it lets people experiment more as well, because, I mean, you can get, like, 2k gear score without max traded blue gear, and blue gear is so cheap to come by. Like, you can just play around and make whatever you want in there, right? Like, you can make, let's say, like, GS stuff is kind of like a meme in PvP, right? Like, but who knows, maybe at like 2k, GS stuff could absolutely pump, right? Because no one has defensives for anything, right? It'd be kind of funny, no? Like, it that sounded so racist there. It allows for more experimentation in builds, which I feel like this game lacks. Not lacks, but it's really hard to pivot builds, right? Because 1, it's expensive, and 2, it's a big time investment, because there's some stuff that you can't swipe on, right? And like, if you watch Welps' stream, like everyone in his chat is just like, is this build good? Is my class good in tier 2? Right? Like, is my class S tier? You know? Oh, I don't know what to go, because, you know, is this good? You know, it's like, the game doesn't allow people to experiment, right? And if you introduce this game mode with like these features that I just covered in this video, I feel like people aren't going to be as scared or as anxious to, you know, play around with gear. Like there was a dude that commented in my videos saying that he feels like he's never gonna be fully prepared or like ready or to even catch up in tier 2 because he experimented with builds in tier 1, right? And now he has no materials to enhance his gear in tier 2, which fucking sucks, right? And I don't even know if I can speak about this, but if player retention is something they want to do when promoting Talandre, like Amazon really needs to like make it easier for returning or new players to get into the game, right? And actually give them gameplay features that they can enjoy without swiping hard or dedicating thousands of hours just to catch up. I get that's an MMO. I get MMOs are meant to be grindy, but with how Throne and Liberty is, right? There's no fun, personally. There's no fun in that time frame of you gearing to have fun, right? And with tier 2, that time frame to gear up is gonna be a lot larger, right? Is gonna require a lot more time investment or money, right? To gear up in tier 2 and to experience the PvP in this game. It also doesn't help that even though once you do have the gear, whether you know work for it or you work for it regardless, right? Whether you swipe or you earn it through in-game, the time where you can actually enjoy having that gear in PvPing is so time gated that it's kind of depressing, right? Like I've spent thousands of hours and then NCSoft tells me when I can have fun with it, right? Like why, you know? I don't get why Korean games do that. They do that in BDO, but at least in BDO you could flag up, which gets on to my next point. Bro, just give us Alt C. Give us open world PKing, man. Just give that to us. And we will gladly be degenerates just running around ganking people. Like BDO has shown us that you don't even need to be rewarded for PvPing, right? You can just mindlessly PvP and just cause a bunch of guild drama. Like Orca knows it pretty well. I played with some of the people in Orca on like BDO. There was a private server in BDO and there was a shot caller that was notorious for the 4 a.m. pings, you know, telling people to log on in Orcs in Arsha. But yeah, like that goes to show that, you know, people don't need rewards, they just need PvP. But with that being said, I want this game mode, if they ever introduce this game mode, to actually have rewards. Because like I said, right, catching up and experimenting in this game is atrocious, right? So if like lower level players, you know, around like 1400 gear score, like in the brackets that I mentioned, if they could get actual rewards to help them gear faster, that would be amazing, right? Like these could give what upgrade materials, solent, maybe even trait unlock stones, bro, or like trait bonuses, who knows, like, or like trait level up stones. Like it's not in the game right now, but like I'm thinking instead of like, you know, requiring the same piece of gear, it works in a similar way as trait unlock stones, but it just levels up the trait by 1 slot, right? That could be a thing that they give, you know, as rewards. Do you know what I mean? I get that they need to make Lucent, but as we've seen with the recent Valentine's Day, costumes are the way to go. And with costumes, they could also introduce transmog, right? If you look at how Guild Wars 2, they could just sell costumes, bro. And the way Guild Wars 2 does it, you either buy a whole outfit, which is like how costumes work in Throne Liberty now, or you could buy armor sets where you could, you know, swap out the shoulders, legs, and, you know, you can mix and match, right? If they introduce transmog and just sell armor sets, bro, pretty sure I've bought gems in Guild Wars 2 just so I can like dress up my character, bro. Like people will do it, right? Like people do it in BDO, right? So if their issue is like, oh, we don't want to give them this game mode and give actual rewards for it because we want people to swipe, change it from making the gear pay to win and just sell people really good fucking cosmetics, right? And introduce transmogs so you can milk people for cosmetics even more by selling them armor sets. Do you know what I mean? And I know people want to say like, oh yeah, cool, armor sets should be earned in game. Sure, I'm not saying like everything should be sold on the mark with real life money that looks good, right? You know, like you can earn some cool looking cosmetics in game. right? But also have that be sellable for Lucent. So if people don't want to swipe, you know, they could just earn the cool looking shit, right? Similar to how like in Guild Wars 2, you can make like legendary weapons that you can sell on the marketplace. There you go. You could also just swipe it. It's like, I think like £500 the last time I checked. Not that I ever bought a legendary weapon in Guild Wars 2. But yeah, that could be an option too. But like I said, not a game dev, so I don't know what the fuck I'm really talking about, but I'm just talking about what I want to see in this game. They could also introduce capture the flag, but I'm not going to get into that game mode. Let me know what you guys think about this game mode. It's like, is this something that you actually want to see in the game, right? How are you feeling about tier 2, right? And if they do add this into the game and you've quit, would you come back for this, right? Like if they're like, yeah, we're going to add, you know, PvP battlegrounds, you can queue whenever you want. We're going to have different gear brackets that give you good rewards, you know, to help you catch up in gear. Would you come back? Because, hey, I would. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that is pretty much it. I will probably put a disclaimer at the start of this video that you can just fucking... You can just fucking put me in a background tab, bro. I'm just yapping way too much, but yeah, I need to sleep. So that is it for this week's video. I am going to be gone for like a week. So yeah, probably no video until then, but leave a like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you're doing in there. Let me know what you think in the comments, all that stuff. And I'll see you in the next one.